Show with Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. Today, my guest is Chris Summers of the Summers team at KW Philadelphia. Chris, welcome to the show.
Pat, it's an honor to be on your show. Thank you for inviting
Nah,
me.
the honor's mine. The honor's mine. Well, I always start things off by asking, why real estate and how did you get started?
Well, I think the benefit of real estate, Pat, is just the opportunity for entrepreneurship.
Right?
And with that, I mean, there's so many levels, that can kind of go with that creativity, growth. Obviously, it's tough for a lot of people.
Right.
As past president of GPAR, I would speak of new agent orientation, like the over under, using like that term.
Right.
It might be 2 years, and why is that? It's like, it's really just commission based. But the benefit of that, is the growth is unlimited.
Right.
And I think ultimately that's not what's most important. I think that, when someone really has the heart and the capacity of helping people
Right.
and helping maybe a lot of people over time, like things could really grow. And what you gain from that internally is awesome. So I think the benefit of real estate is the entrepreneurship, just combined with being involved in the community, neighborhoods. And if you enjoy helping people, you're going to be very, very successful.
So that's what really attracted you to becoming a realtor.
Initially, I didn't really know all that at first.
Right.
Like I fell out of being a stockbroker in the internet crisis. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Or the internet bubble.
The
I
bubble,
should say.
right?
The
Yeah,
bubble.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
the
tech bubble.
financial
Yeah, yeah.
crisis was the next crisis. And, I knew I had sales skills. I knew
Right.
I liked real estate. I knew I liked investments. But, some of that concept of helping people really just started to happen maybe organically.
Okay.
But I just knew that I like, the overall concept of it. And sometimes you don't know until you start doing something and things just kind of really mushroom, from there.
Now, was there any one person that said, "Hey, real estate, you should, check that out," or no?
Well, I think that one person is in Remax Access.
Ah.
His name is Steve O.
Okay. Well, shout out to Steve
Yeah,
O.
shout out to Steve O. I think he basically said, Chris, why don't you, get into real estate? And I was like, okay. And I do remember one of the first books I read. It was a recommendation like from an owner of a title company. It was like Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Right. Mm-hmm.
which I think is excellent, whether you're in real estate or just want to make investments. But kind of having that understanding of good debt, bad debt,
Right.
investments, big picture, working hard, entrepreneurship, those kinds of things, could really help you grow. But yeah, Steve O was the was my catalyst to
Okay.
get into real estate.
Very good. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been incredibly successful. You've been one of the top realtors for 10 plus years. What do you attribute your success? What is what are you doing that's making you stand out from the crowd? And you and your team, because it's a team concept.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably get asked that question a lot, Pat. I hear other, like top realtors, like Mike McCann and other people get that question a lot, at conferences and whatnot.
Right.
I think there's no one like secret thing or several like secret formula, but there is one secret thing, and it's simple. It's just hard work. But I think with that, it's just like being, intentional, just doing a little bit more than what your competition does. But also you really have to like love what you do too.
Right.
To really kind of have that attitude or that energy, to do more. But like when you start to have the benefits of more, whatever that might be. And I do recall, in the beginning, like I would, work a lot of weekends.
Right.
I remember at Remax affiliates where I started, like floor shifts really aren't as popular today as
Right.
they were back then. But I remember like people wouldn't want to do floor shifts. I would take the floor shifts for the entire day,
Right.
9 to 11, 11 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 5. I'm like, this is great. People are calling in.
Right.
They're calling in. It's like doing an open house. I guess they're walking in.
Right.
And no one wanted to do these shifts. So I went around to every agent in the office. Like, if you don't want to do your floor shift, I'll take it. And it's just things like that. And then obviously the more people you speak to,
Right.
the more people you meet, the more people actually you help, then, like the referrals and things can kind of come from
Right.
there. And just doing a few things just to kind of make yourself stand out a little
Right.
bit more.
Now, but you're being a little bit modest. You work with a bunch of developers. You've done projects where people are building, 10, 20 houses, and that's different than a regular, hey, list a house with me, or hey, I can jump in my car and I'll show you some homes. There has to be more to be able to attract the developers? Or let me ask this question. What are developers looking for when they're talking to a realtor?
I mean, yeah, it's a good point. I think it's like a two-part question because, like, initially, yeah, it would it be great to come in to real estate and just start working with a developer and selling new construction? Of course it would. And some people might have that because, like, maybe their relative or
Right.
a family member has a project and they're kind of already in it. But I do recall for myself, I remember like I had a broken ankle from playing basketball, at that gym that brought in Lopez,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
the Bellevue. I didn't have insurance. So like I'm walking around with, crutches. I'm going into North Philly showing investor properties like 20 or 30,000,
Right.
and maybe that's in the beginning. But what happened was, is like you work with one investor, then you get referred to another, and then you have investors, looking to flip, right?
Right.
And you help them buy, and then you do hard work and they give the listing back to you. But over time, for me, it's like doing that over and over ultimately led, to helping someone get a vacant land,
Right.
right? Or, one developer, making a referral to another. But I think ultimately that second question is what are people looking for? Obviously, is the hard work.
Right.
I think a lot of it really has to do with marketing and branding.
Right.
What do developers want the most is they want exposure to their projects.
Right.
They want high level marketing. They want high level expertise, honest, updates about pricing and whatnot. Because in a great market, I think every realtor can look great. But it's more so during those slower markets doing extra things, that can get their projects
Right.
more exposure that could lead to a sale or two or three. Ultimately, that becomes very important. That's one of the things that we did like during that financial crisis
Right.
aspect where realtors were starting to spend less money in marketing. Like we started to do more
Right.
and got into video very early. And then those types of things just led to having opportunities to help developers get land, or the developers had a project and they wanted, that kind of exposure, or a team. The team
Right.
concept obviously helps too because you have me on the show. But obviously there's much more to the Summers team besides just Chris Summers too.
Right. Right. So one of your keys is the marketing. You would say that that would be one of the things that really separated you from an average realtor, was really that intense marketing, and then just really understanding the market itself, understanding projects, really, first taking that first step, dealing with a flipper and then growing from there and really understanding. So when you turn around and talk to these bigger people, you come off super knowledgeable, and you have that infrastructure to be able to, you know, sell out their units.
Correct. And some of that might be the very beginning too, because like oftentimes, I'll get a call from someone, should I buy this land?
Right.
Can the outsell be this?
Right.
Right. And then so like being part of that consultative process, like we're already like thinking strategically about new construction sales, maybe a year later, 2 years later from
Right.
the beginning. Now, if we're not involved in that process, I mean, absolutely, like the marketing and then the knowledge of the market and having the database of people or the reach, like you could have a great video, you could have great photos, but if your infrastructure isn't that wide,
Right.
it can only get you so far too. So like that type of infrastructure just really being built up, over the years. And we were, one of the first adopters, with real estate video,
Right.
being one of the first, teams on, social media. Everyone's on now.
Right.
So now obviously you have to do a little bit more,
Right.
to kind of get that high level marketing.
Okay. So you keep on mentioning your team. How many people do you have on your team, and do you have just people just in marketing itself, or how does that look?
Our team has been pretty consistent, Pat, like over the years of having, like around 20 some on the team.
Right.
Sometimes like 20 kids. I don't have kids.
Right.
But like, like the culture over the years, like most of the people that have been on our team, for years.
Right.
And like a lot of
Exactly.
those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a testament, for like our culture and how we have things set up. And with marketing, yes, we've always had like marketing, either consulting or marketing companies that we use because I mean, at the end of the day, like, if one realtor is just trying to do everything, that's going to lead to burnout or
Right.
that 2 year thing or the expenses or whatnot. So, we've had marketing partners and still do, to help, with creativity, brainstorming,
Right.
and planning, whether it's, just for the summer stuff like Bryce
Right.
Harper,
Right.
summer stuff, summer stuff, Bryce,
Right.
or, marketing for a specific project or branding or, more so, for any listing. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's very similar, the marketing of a new construction project or this new construction project or even amazing listing, on ABC Street.
Right. Right. But for the developer, their project is the best
So
project.
yeah, like a Pat Lopez project or maybe my own stuff.
Right.
Yeah, of course it's the best. Like people
Right.
put in their heart and soul,
Right.
to something and maybe like a lot of money. And now with the market getting a little bit softer,
Right.
like I saw a developer at La Colombe yesterday, and the listing's not with me. It's like, Chris, I'm not getting any activity on this stuff. And I'm like, well, is it listed with us?
Right. That's number one, your first fault right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Right.
But like I think what's going to happen is like in the last few years, like in the COVID years, I mean, it's still happening in the suburbs too. Like, yeah, for a realtor to get a listing, hey, it's great. You put it on the market,
Right.
sold in a week or two. Yeah, but now obviously, marketing matters more.
Right. You have to work.
The detail, you have to work, twice as hard, three times as hard. And that's okay. Because I remember we did the exact same thing in the financial crisis.
Right.
And we were working together a lot back
Absolutely.
then.
Yeah.
And both of us came out stronger on the other end. So I think, if anyone's listening to this, realtor, mortgage, whomever, the more work you put in now and the more relationships you build or nurture the ones you already have, you can come out, three times as strong, once we kind of get through, this period of time. I think the difference now between the financial crisis, like that was like 3-4 years, right? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It started in 2007, 2008. And then,
To
yeah.
2010 or 11.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know we might talk about, and there's so many condos built back then, and
Right.
that's like the end of new construction condos. Like unless you're, in downtown,
Right.
There's still some nice ones. Yeah, we sold Jim Moransky's Ice House Phase 2 and 3. Those were awesome. But yeah, the point is, it's like the work that you put in today is going to be very beneficial moving forward. And I have a feeling that this kind of little down. I mean, it's been a huge downside.
Right. Right.
Transactions are down.
Absolutely.
The real estate side, 50%.
Right.
Year over year. But as far as like a prolonged slowdown, I don't foresee that happening as
Right.
much. So I think that's really the exciting part too. Like put in as much work as you can during this time. We don't really know how long the time's going to be.
Exactly.
But it probably is not going to be 4 years.
No, without question.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we don't have the issues with, foreclosures. I mean, people who have a house, they were able to buy the house because it's full documentation. Everybody looked at everything. So you can afford it. And most people have incredibly low interest rates. So the affordability isn't the issue like it was with the no doc stuff.
And then the doom and gloom people talk about foreclosures. I don't know what they're talking about.
It's at all-time low.
Yeah, because like, if you have some brain cells in your head, which some of us still do,
Right.
or a lot,
Right.
a lot, like everyone has equity.
Everybody.
So the only people that don't have equity, might be someone that bought 6 months ago or
Right.
a year ago. So in the financial crisis, there were tons of people that had lots of negative equity,
Absolutely.
lots and lots of it, which led to the short sales, the foreclosures,
Right.
and so forth. We're just not in that market at
No,
all.
not at all.
Right.
Okay, so let me jump subjects a little bit. You're still in the Northern Liberties area, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. I want to talk about Northern Liberties because I'm right on the edge of Northern Liberties, my office, and I am seeing.
Yes, you are.
Oh, right on the edge.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you're on the other side, but
Like,
close.
if you stay on the weekends, there's lots of like
Right.
dirt bike activity.
Yeah.
Luke Oils, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
outside. Yeah, right over here. But anyway, yeah.
But looking out the window, I see cranes and I see all this massive development of all these apartments, reading articles, driving around, seeing. They're saying that there's over 6,700 units going up. What do you see the impact in Northern Liberties? Because that could literally double the population in Northern Liberties.
Yeah, I mean, I think that question kind of like expands too, like Northern Liberties, like South Kensington.
Right,
There's
right.
lots of those units at Second and Girard too. Yeah, Fishtown is already kind of like super dense,
Right.
right? So you don't have as many of these large scale projects, but I think kind of what happened, I mean, that financial crisis kind of phased out, the condo market to a certain
Right.
degree and put a big stigma on it. And with rents continuing to go higher and higher, these large density apartment buildings for rent, that's what's been working. and the demand for these types of units is sky high. So like the current buildings now, like their vacancy rate, I have friends that work at Post Brothers. I think that's a good kind of example for some
Right.
of these. Is so low.
Wow.
And hopefully that would change. We want more. Yeah, as past president of GPAR, we do tons of leasing too.
Right.
Yeah, but like the growth of a city, the benefit of a city, at the end of the day, is always going to be a higher percentage of owner occupants.
Right. Well, the one positive is if people come to the city, they enjoy it, they like it. After a couple of years, they said, the heck with renting, let me call Chris Summers. I want to buy, right?
Yeah, and have that loan, go through paying off mortgage, but no, but I think, I mean, you know, we haven't really talked about public safety,
Right.
and that, that was really the main item in the mayor campaign.
Right. Without question. Yeah.
And I mean, that is one kind of like lingering headwind, that is part of our market. Because like every person that's thinking about selling or buying in Philadelphia, they'll say that's one of the top things that
Right.
they think about. And there are so many sellers that are thinking about moving out of Philly, and that's really the main reason. Now, fast forward, I do think there's going to be a huge opportunity for realtors and mortgage people in Philly to kind of get back on track as that why lease when you can own question
Right.
really comes into vogue. And actually, I think it was the Philadelphia Inquirer, had an article last week or a couple weeks ago, where it basically said that Philadelphia is one of 4 cities, not in PA, but in the United States.
That's affordable.
Yeah, that it's cheaper to own than rent, right?
Yep.
So,
I saw that article.
for now, like, the absorption rate for these big buildings, like, the demand for people to come to Philly and lease, because of, maybe their job, they're just not sure how long they're going to stay here, concerns about public safety, that demand is, in my opinion, will last a long time.
And the one thing that people don't realize and they don't talk about it is when you make your mortgage payment, let's say your payment is $2,000 a month, $500 is going to the equity of the home. So that's forced savings. You have money there. So you're really not paying $2,000. You're paying $1,500 because part of your money is going into the home as basically a forced savings account that you have. So people can't just look at, hey, my payment's going to be $2,000. I can rent for $1,500. Yeah, but $500 of your money is going to go towards the house. And when you go to turn around and sell the house 10 years down the road, the Summers team says they can give you $50,000 more than what you paid, and you have all that equity within the home because you paid down a loan.
Correct. And I do take a lot of pride, and I think it was a really good friend of mine, Dave Tran.
Okay.
And a big investor in the city. If he watches this, maybe we'll tag him. Calling myself and the Summers team being a comp setter. Like if it wasn't for us, like over all these 20 years or so, in my opinion, the neighborhood prices wouldn't be where they are today.
Right.
So everyone should, give us a toast or whatnot. But anyway, I'm kind of like,
going off the tune your own horn. That's all right. You're allowed.
Getting off track there. But there was a main. Oh yeah. So like the home ownership part. Like a lot of people. I mean, this, I know this, but like the average person doesn't. Not only do you have the equity, you have the mortgage interest,
right?
Which is a tax deduction. Mm-hmm. You have your real estate taxes, which they've gone up so much,
right?
The city of Philadelphia, in their infinite wisdom, really, it kind of like that's another little headwind that we have too.
But you have the homestead exemption.
That's true. But
that knocks about $1,000 off.
Correct. We got a few things going on there, but the real estate taxes are tax deductions.
Right. Absolutely.
So if someone's leasing, they don't have any of these.
None of them. And then afterwards, after 5 years in the property and the home is now worth, $20,000, $30,000 more, you don't get that when you're renting.
Yeah. And I do love the saying for today's buyer was it marry the house, take the rate?
Right.
Because like this is a very opportunistic time to buy a home because as soon as those rates get back down, inventory is already low as it is.
Right.
Then those people are going to be paying more for a property with a lower rate, and it's going to be more difficult to get it too because of the whole multiple offer scenario.
Absolutely.
So at least today, at least in Philly, not as much the suburbs. It's not that crazy market.
And of course, you can refinance, so you're not married to an interest rate. You can always refinance as they go down.
Yeah, with quite up.
Shameless plugs going on here. Shameless plugs. Okay, so now, is there anything else? Is there any projects or anything that you just want to mention before we wrap things up? that are going on that, the show should know about?
That's a good question. I mean, there's always things happening. I mean, what I would like to see is, that investor, to come back to the city of Philadelphia. I feel like the combination of the city regulation and maybe part of it is interest rates.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of that investor buyer is just not as there as much as they used to be.
Right.
And again, the GPAR part of me, I just can't help but throw in a plug for that. I'm not exactly sure what that could be. I think, some incentives from city council for investment,
Right.
I think would be huge, not disincentives.
Right.
And I feel like, we've lost a lot of, we talk about these rental big projects coming, we've lost a lot of rental inventory, with people selling their homes and selling to owner occupant. I mean, we always have listings coming up and projects, but I would just like to see, and I'll kind of lead the charge. It's like, let's bring, that investor back. 'Cause I know you've owned properties, you've had
Absolutely.
great properties that you deliver, the tenants, great tenants. I think that's a really important component to our market that's kind of like, is just not there right now.
Right. Okay. Great.
I don't know if I answered that
No,
question. Yeah.
it was good. Well, Chris, that was some really good information that you shared with us. And I'd like to thank you for being on the show. Now, if somebody is selling, buying, or just want to find out more about the Summers team, how would they go about that?
Well, Pat, thanks again for having me on the show. It's been an honor and a privilege. But to find the Summers team, it's very easy.
Right.
TheSummersTeam.com, TheSummersteam.com. We're all over social media, the Summers Team Philadelphia on Facebook, Instagram. People can find me, Philly Realty, on Twitter or Instagram. Pop in the office, 1619 Walnut or 1405 Frankfurt. And boom, work with us, buyer, seller, investor, developer. And then at the end, we could all say, just did it.
Just did it. Not
Just do
do
it. Not do it. We just did it, right? There's a difference between thinking about doing something and doing it.
Right.
I did it. Boom.
Perfect. Well, once again, thanks a lot. Well, that's the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Remember to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe below. I have some great guests, some great content lined up for you. Also, leave a comment. Tell me what you like, you didn't like, or what show topics you want to cover in the future. Once again, this show is everything real estate, no limits. Once again, thanks. Hope you enjoyed the show.